All right, I've seen a few of these tags. Justice for Sam, Justice for Samantha. A lot of them are referring to a woman who was killed at Lake Geneva. It's apparently a town. Um, some people say it's Geneva, some people say it's Lake Geneva, and I might even be pronouncing that wrong. It's in Walworth County, Wisconsin. Now let me tell you a story here. This woman, Crystal Kahn, Kahn, her daughter was murdered by her own father. I'm I'm pretty good at assessing the situation and being understanding. That's from experience. When I told you that I've got hundreds of these stories saved, I wasn't kidding. And when you've dealt with it firsthand, not from the pleasure of your living room on the TV, things are a lot different. Crystal wants justice for her daughter, and she should be allowed that. She should be allowed an honest day in court. She should be allowed to speak up. The problem is that when you're dealing with police corruption, you're not just dealing with police corruption. You're also dealing with the judges and the prosecutors and the public pretenders who empower these officers to do so over and over and over again. Empower them to do so by treating anybody who tried to turn these officers in like they're terrible excuses for human beings. Now, upon occasion, we get lucky, and it just so happens that the person that the police decided to victimize lives there, like with Zaid Atkinson. What happened to Zaid was not correct. It was not a good thing. And those police should not have done that. All of the officers involved in that, as well as officers across border Colorado, should be punished, but not just for that incident. It's because they do that to the homeless. Now, this is a situation that I am aware of, and, well, from firsthand experience. What I'm about to do now is read you some more firsthand experience. Crystal Kahn, it says, Crystal Kahn shared a memory. And it also, she typed, when the evidence of a history of violence goes back 23 plus years, despite the fact there is no record of his domestic violence conviction in CCAP. And the one that she sent was from last year, July 31st, 2019. It says, feeling kind of cute. Might upload all of your notes and worksheets from your domestic violence assessment and counseling, IDK. That stands for I don't know. Of course, I couldn't help comment on that. This woman was dealing with quite a bit of illegal shit with the courts, the fact that people are friends with one another, and so on and so forth. But just like with me, she's got the evidence. She's trying to get someone to look at it who will fucking do something. What do you do when the police won't do their fucking jobs? What do you do? What do you do when you've got public pretenders who aren't even going to pretend to defend you? Or pretend to defend you just enough that you're like, you know what? You're literally not doing anything except the bare minimum. My life doesn't matter to lawyers. You kidding me? None of our lives matter to lawyers. Public pretenders, district attorneys. Let me read what I typed to her. I typed, let me guess. Prosecutor and judge gave him a deferred sentence, so he played nice until his time was up, so the state would drop the charges. The therapist was part of the stipulations for the deferred sentence. Either that, or he was friends with the cops. Now, for those of you who care about popularity contests, I posted that up an hour ago and I got 4 likes, which is quite a bit more than I usually get, especially in the first hour. And that's for a full-on post. This is just for a comment. Chris Placon typed Sean Schwartz, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Now I'm going to read this here document. Crystal is trying to get justice for her daughter who was murdered. All right. This one is from 9/9/97. Even has his address up there and his phone number. Domestic abuse deferred prosecution contract. Holy shit, who called it? But there's more. You were reported to have committed a criminal offense on or about August 26, 1997, contrary to the laws of the state of Wisconsin. After reviewing the police reports investigating the offense and your background, it appears that your interests and the interests of the community can be best served by the deferral of your prosecution. Therefore, pursuant to sections 971.37 and 971.38 of the Wisconsin statutes, your prosecution in Walworth County for this offense will be deferred for a period of 12 months, provided you comply with the following contract conditions. 1. You must agree to undergo a domestic violence assessment at the Walworth County Department of Human Services. Their phone number is 741-3200. Go ahead and tell them how happy you are. The assessment is $150. Holy shit. Now that's going to put some perspective on you when it comes to how easy it is to also railroad people and victimize them with these things. $150 ain't nothing to Donald Trump. Somebody at the bottom, it's quite a lot. But it says $150, which must be paid in cash at the time of the assessment. Well, just a one-time assessment, $150. If this is a situation where the state is involved and it is a deferred sentence, yeah, forget the $150. If he ain't got it, I don't want him going to jail for this on a screw up by these people. If he's going to jail, he needs to go to jail for the domestic violence, not for the red tape. Do you know why? Because police and courts will specifically do things like this that allow a predator to walk because it brings in income. Now, it doesn't matter if he's actually guilty or not in this particular situation. What matters is that they're showing that it's more about money than doing the right thing. If you got money, you can buy yourself out, even if you're guilty. If you're homeless or broke, yeah, it don't work that way. That $150 is life or death. If the guy is going to go to jail, he needs to go to jail for the crime that he committed, not red tape. Seriously, Al Capone on tax evasion? Grasping at straws, I guess. Now, this man with a history of domestic violence, just like Ted Bollinger and many other of the predators that I speak out about, yeah, he's got a history of it. Not a make-believe history or a how do I call that? Badly painted picture, but an actual history of these things. Which must be paid in cash at the time of the assessment. You must schedule the assessment within 2 days of signing this agreement. The assessment must be completed within 6 weeks of signing this contract. Deferred sentence on domestic violence. It's like a deferred sentence on rape, in my opinion. And I mean that. You allow the predators access to their victims yet again. It says, two, you agree to follow any and all recommendations of the assessment. The Association for the Prevention of Family Violence, APFV, will contact you by mail within 2 weeks after you have completed the assessment. You must sign up for any recommended counseling and treatment within 2 days after you have been contacted by APFV. So now this guy is spending a lot of money. I know a lot of innocent people having to pay a bunch of really, really crappy fines because they signed plea agreements so that their victimization would stop by the courts. See, here's the thing, is that it's both men and women who are being victimized. It's both men and women who are capable of being the predators. And the fact is, this lady has been posting up pictures. She's been posting up evidence. The marks are not consistent with the murder weapon. This woman, she wants justice for her kid. This is a domestic abuse deferred prosecution contract. Now, these stipulations that they go pay this money to go to these bullshit classes, and they are bullshit. Domestic violence classes, for the most part, are bullshit. If they were ran by people who actually cared, who weren't just there for a paycheck, things would be different, but that's not how they're ran. They're ran by people who don't care, who are just there for a paycheck. And the sliding scale fee system, that's the most important part. Them getting paid. Whether or not they do their jobs is arbitrary. As long as you sign that paperwork first, they're getting paid. Since they're getting paid by the government, well, you don't matter anymore because you're not paying them. This screws things up for everyone, all of the victims. Whether it's a male predator or a female predator, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a male victim or a female victim, it doesn't matter. It makes it worse for all of us. Us. Not sure how many of y'all recognize that word. Us. It means we, as in we, the people of the United States of America, as in you, period, S, period, us, United States. Wow! Now let's continue with this. A lot of these things you might believe are good things or good ideas or good this or good that. But when it comes down to it, these are the situations that make things worse. These are the situations we're paying for that don't do any good because there is no oversight. We've got a bunch of basically kindergartners running the police departments across the United States. We got child molesters in Congress, in the White House, all over the place. Child molesters in high positions of power. And when they decide that they're going to promote somebody, they're going to promote somebody who thinks similar to them. So if they're a child molester, they're probably going to want to promote someone to a judge's position who's a child molester or even a rapist. How sick is that? Meanwhile, I see over and over and over again these things. How am I able to call out this shit? How was I able to call this out? Because I've been through it. Many people I know have been through it. If the cops don't do their jobs and it results in dead people, the judges and the DA will cover for them. End of fucking story. If you live in a place in America that's not like that, holy dear Jesus fucking God, let me know and I'll send a bunch of good people your way. Three, if additional counseling is recommended, you are required to successfully complete it. That means, in addition to actively participating in counseling, you must also attend each session and be on time. Then there's a bunch of stuff that's crossed out and it has initials on it. The part that's crossed out on number 4, it says if a bond is in effect, the no contact condition of the bond remains in effect until lifted by the court. If or when the no contact is lifted, the state retains the authority to, well, this part it stops cutting it off. It says the state retains the authority to amend the contract to include a no contact order with the victim at any time. You will be given notice of the reinstatement of the no contact order by a letter from the district attorney's office. Now, I want to break that one down hardcore. I'm not sure how many of y'all have been following my situation from the beginning. Probably not many. When I was at Rand Ingersoll's last year in Rawlins, Wyoming, there was a situation, and if you listen to what my public pretender had to say, which is recorded here on my YouTube, and you listen to what Rand Ingersoll had to say, which is recorded here on my YouTube, you realize that, first of all, Rihanna wasn't the victim I was, and so were Amy's kids. And second of all, there was a no contact order between myself and Miss Rihanna that Miss Rihanna breaks and I break. Matter of fact, us breaking, both of us breaking that protection order is on my YouTube because that's where those phone calls were made, where she admitted those things. That was in a phone call while I'm supposed to have a protection order with this woman. Meanwhile, this woman is somebody who I have known for many, many years. I love her so much, and I understand the problems that she's having. But we got a lot of stuff like this that, first of all, when you're dealing with bad cops, they'll use stuff like this to prevent you from being able to talk to the person that you need to. In the case of Rawlins, Wyoming, that was mostly because those officers had committed a lot of illegal, well, you get to see the video for yourself. Between the video with the Rawlins PD or the Rawlins Sheriff's, no, it was Rawlins PD. It was the Rawlins Sheriff's Department I didn't talk to until I was in the jail. Now, what would be the possible penalties for Rihanna if I chose to press charges? Well, about 15 or so felonies. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask somebody to come forward with in order to defend you. Now, sure, some of y'all are of the opinion, oh yeah, well after what she did to you, she owes it to you to at least tell the fucking truth. Well, she already did. I recorded it. But the other thing is, there's no pursuit. With me, with nearly all of my victims, they did their victimization over the internet and across state lines, at least across jurisdictional lines, some with a vehicle, some. And it's completely screwed up. Now, mind you, this is from 1997. This is years, almost 2 decades. Actually, it might be 2 decades. 2 decades after this, he killed his own daughter. Now, this bond effect stuff, this is something that, first of all, how do you enforce it? Do they enforce it? Second of all, when you've got bad police officers, they can do things like this in order to prevent someone from showing the truth. They can also get you to sign papers, which most of the homeless people can tell you about being on probation. That's where they convince you that your only chance, and mind you, your public pretender is in on this, your only chance of having any chance of getting set free, even if you're innocent, is to sign this piece of paper because they don't want to do their fucking job, because they have no incentive to do their job. They're getting paid either way, whether they win or lose, whether they do their job or not. The problem is that they're playing with human lives. They are taking American taxpayer dollars and using that taxpayer dollars for their own personal gain, but their contract to earn that money has not been fulfilled, and innocent lives are dangling at the end of it. Now, we can see these situations in many of these other situations that I've been in and other people that I've had to deal with, where these things are, first of all, not effective, and second of all, they're not enforced. The things that my predators did to me, I went to a lot of different cops who didn't do a goddamn thing. And you know what? That's all the way down to refusing to take a report from me, refusing a report from others, intimidating witnesses, falsifying evidence, stealing evidence. And this lady's got to deal with this shit too. Her daughter was fucking killed. And the DA helped her fucking predator get away. Five, you agree to refrain from any conduct which will create probable cause to believe that you have violated the criminal law of any state or to a criminal statute, it says, or the United States, or the ordinances of any municipality substantially conforming to a criminal statute during the period of this contract. This includes complying with the conditions of bond. If one has been set by the court, if and when you first appeared before the judge, your bond will remain in full force and effect during the 12 months of this contract. Who called it? Who fucking called it? I've spent 2 years trying to do this the right way. And you know what? The only time I had any progress was when I played Predator. That's it. When I mimicked the actions that were being acted upon me, that I was told were not illegal, and there was nothing the police could do about it, which I had to deal with for a whole year before Natalie was killed. And now for years after, because there is no way to force these cops to do their jobs. These body cameras need to be on at all times. The things that they're talking about need to be recorded, and they need to not be allowed to erase it. You know, when it comes to the statute of limitations, they cut it in half for cops. Holy shit. You have half the amount of time that you would. And that allows police to victimize you by charging you with a crime against a police officer. And when they drop the charges because they can't make it stick because you are the fucking victim, not them, it doesn't matter because now you are targeted by police America-wide. Everywhere in America, you get blackballed by the cops. By the way, that comes from voting. That's where the term blackball comes from. For those of you who want to, I saw a post the other day that was disturbing, but no, that's not how it got its name. Chris Lacan also typed, Sean Schwartz, the shocking part, though, is the DA's office determined he was dangerous enough to extend that 12-month restraining order to 18 months. I got pregnant with both girls while there was a restraining order in place. A restraining order is just a piece of paper. That piece of paper is not going to protect you from predators. If I was a predator, I could have gone around the country, because I did go around the entire country, and instead of trying to get the cops to do their jobs or try to get help, I could have been killing those people. I could have killed Dalton Crawford and gotten away with it. I could have killed Natalie's mom and gotten away with it. Could have killed her dad and gotten away with it. I could have killed a lot of people. Heck, I walk right past Officer Hahn's house at least 3 times a day. He lives just a couple blocks away. And, of course, just a little bit closer than that is another officer, the new one from Colorado. Y'all know how I feel about Colorado police, but the fact is, this is nationwide. These are not isolated instances. If this is police protocol, it is not an isolated instance. If it's DA protocol, then it's not an isolated instance. The fact is, whether or not you have a judge who's in a shitty mood or not can be entirely dependent upon the lawyer that you have. If the judge doesn't like the public pretender that you got, yeah, he might not allow her to do her job because he doesn't like her. Now, if he's friends with her or they're porking on the side, well, he might let you get away with a lot. He might let some child molesters go. You know, when I was in Larimer County, Colorado, over that assault at Clearview, where they injected me with those drugs, same thing that was done to Elijah McClain and Tybor Vitae, and a lot of homeless people that I know as well. And they allowed a man who molested a 6-year-old boy walk out of the courtroom, walk right out. They did the same thing with Ted Bollinger. You know, I think I got to walk despite the fact he molested a child. He served in the military. That's pretty fucking gross. Luckily, military prisons are different than the rest of them. Military prisons are the only prisons in America with a higher population of child molesters than homeless people. They're the only ones. The majority of inmates in military prisons are child molesters. Think about that. Well, not necessarily just child molesters, it's also sexual offenses. But the fact is, the biggest thing they're in for is being child molesters. The civilian courts will let them get away with it. The civilian courts, well, they do a lot. They cover a lot, and they endorse and promote immoral laws. Sorry, they're mowing outside. We're not talking about just the problem of the predators here, and we're not just talking about justice for Sam. There is a lot more going on here. And I know a lot of people want to have this narrative that only a certain group of people can be victims. No. That certain group of victims, well, we can't deny that they're being victimized. But then again, why? Why are they being victimized? And why is the American public making excuses? Got a lot of dead bodies now. 21 bodies linked with police misconduct. In me and Natalie's case. 21 bodies over that situation and people deciding not to listen to me, including some pretty high profile ones. And also a baby, an infant. Guys, these folks aren't just doing it to one small group. This is happening to everybody who ain't rich. Each one of these people afraid to speak up until it happens to them, and then they're angry that nobody else will speak up. Why won't you help me? Why won't you? You know, before Natalie was killed, I still helped people. After Natalie was killed, I still helped people. I went and rescued Desiree twice for a reason. Chris Lacan did post up this year, County of Walworth, Office of the District Attorney. District Attorney Philip A. Koss, I believe, September 18th, 1998. It says on September 10th, or regarding the state of Wisconsin versus John B. Sharkus. On September 10th, 1997, I sent you a copy of a deferred prosecution agreement signed by John B. Sharkus, which is scheduled to expire on September 8th, 1998. The Assistant District Attorney, Julie A. Salvin, has extended this contract until March 8th, 1999. If you have any further questions or comments, please contact me. Sincerely yours, Beverly A. Buckholtz, victim/witness coordinator. I should have had one of those. Through all of this, I should have had one of those. I should have had a caseworker that cared, a family that cared, and of course, a victim's rights advocate. But I didn't, and still don't. So, there. Now, why is it that I'm telling this lady's story? Because there is a chance of helping her. The court's already screwed up too much. Ted Bollinger, Alicia Bollinger, Maddie Boa, Danica Garner, Rochelle Shelley Campbell. These people are not going to be prosecuted for their crimes. They got away with it scot-free. Same thing with Officer Waylon Lolatai, Clearview Behavioral Health, Officer Burke, Officer Jonas, and many others. When I read this woman's information, it reminds me of how screwed up the system is, and that it's not just happening to the homeless. It's not just happening to foster kids. It's not just at all. It's not just happening to former foster kids. It's not just happening to the mentally disabled. It's not just happening to the physically disabled. It's not just happening to Native Americans. It's not just happening to women. It's not just happening to immigrants. It's not just happening to black folks. This is our problem. Us. U.S. Us. United States. How united are we really if predators can just jump across jurisdictional boundaries and get away with it? How just is this country when police can transfer someone who is trying to turn them or their fellow officers in to a different jurisdiction and have the people in that jurisdiction put drugs into you for speaking out, being given the mentally ill treatment? And this guy here, it says, "Dear Miss Khan," that's who it's addressed to. You know why? John B. Sharkus was her predator. Here's the thing. When Natalie was killed, there was a good chance it was her dad, because I exposed him as a child molester with Natalie's words, her own email. And this guy right here, John B. Sharkus, turns out he's also friends with the DA and detectives. Sounds like a small town. I've never heard of this town. This one says Elkhorn, Wisconsin. But let's look up Lake Geneva. I want to see how big the population is. The way things are sounding there, that's a town about the size of Chapel. Chapel's about 500, but, well, a town up to 6,000 could still have people that are very familiar. However, a town of 500 people like Chapel, Nebraska here, you pretty much recognize everybody's face. I was gone for a lot of years, so a lot of faces are gone. A lot of them died, a lot of them got old, and a lot of them moved in. So I didn't get to meet them one at a time as they moved in. It's just all of a sudden there's a bunch of new people. Lake Geneva, city in Wisconsin. Let's see what it says. Oh, wow. There's about 2,000 more people than my top number there of 6,000. It says as of 2018, the population is 7,962. Elevation 879 feet. The zip code is 53147. It takes up an area of 6.86 miles squared. It even says the temperature and wind chill and humidity and what time it is there. So yeah, it's not a very big town. The closest thing we have to a big town around here is Sidney, Nebraska. It used to have a population around 20,000. Cabela's employed most of the people in town, so when they closed down, a lot of people moved. So it's probably a lot less than 20,000. But Sidney, Nebraska is it's actually about 4 times the size of Lake Geneva. Not population-wise, but land area-wise, because Sidney, Nebraska is very spread out. The lakeside shore path is dotted with gilded age mansions, many built by wealthy Chicagoans. Money. That's another thing people don't worry about. You know, that $150 Mr. Shark isn't supposed to pay. For a broke person, that's a lot of money. For a homeless person, that's a lot more. But if you're rich, well, shit, $150 a drop in the water, ain't it? This lady deserves justice. She deserves to be heard, just like me. She's been trying to post up the evidence as much as possible to show y'all what's going on. This isn't just in Colorado. It's not just in Wisconsin. It's not just in Rhode Island or Virginia. It's not just in South Dakota or Montana. It's not just in Wyoming or Nebraska. It's all over the United States. There is no oversight. And no, I don't want human beings to be that oversight. Once those human beings start to become familiar with those people and they start to become friends, they stop doing their job. But a video and audio recording device, that'll show the truth. And if they're not allowed to edit it, then it shows the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, does it show the whole truth of the situation? No, it just shows the whole truth of what happened while it was on in that general vicinity. So, no, a body camera is not going to tell you if somebody murdered their wife 6 hours ago. The evidence that is on that body camera possibly could. So, it's hard not to feel bad for this lady. And it's terrible that these things, these stipulations, they make you jump through. They don't work for the predators or the victims. And in situations like this, sometimes they're quite interchangeable. We want to play this narrative like only women can be victims. That's not true. Or like women can't be predators, and that's also not true. There's also the fact that, yeah, the father, in most abuse cases where it is sexual abuse, most of the time it's the father. Why am I willing to fight for this lady? She's been fighting it for almost 3 years. 3 years. And unlike Natalie's mother, who cared more about their abusers than her own children, this lady straight don't give a fuck. Thank fucking goodness. She don't give a fuck. She is gonna keep speaking out for her daughter. With police and the DA and judges like this nationwide, she has every right to be afraid. And the fact is, her documenting this on her Facebook, it's a smart thing to do, especially when the police, the public pretenders, the DA, and the judge don't really seem to give a fuck. If they won't document it, you document it. And you put it somewhere where other people will see it, so that if anything happens to you, they know where to fucking look. Pardon my cursing, but it's another thing I don't give a fuck about. You want to be pissed off that I curse? Well, I'm pissed off you're turning a blind eye to this shit. You want to be pissed off because I use words like bitch and cunt. And I don't use them exclusively for either gender. I don't care. If you're a male, I'll still call you a bitch and a cunt. There are very specific criteria to being called those names. If I call you a bitch, it's because you're just going to lay down and take it. Crystal ain't a bitch. She ain't just laying down and taking it. She's speaking up and fighting back. She's not a cunt either. In order to be a cunt, you have to get innocent people hurt by lying, or injure them yourselves, or get them killed. Words are powerful, but only if you're heard. Please listen to this lady. She is pissed off just like I am. She is sad just like I am. I don't post these videos just for the victims. It's also for their families. And it's for the other victims. We are fighting for you. We're fighting hard. By we, I'm not talking about me and Crystal. I'm talking about us. All of us. All of us who are victimized are busting our asses because we're in fucked up situations. Fucked up situations that crooked laws, crooked judges, crooked lawyers, and crooked cops. Well, who put us in that situation? Did I choose to have to go to crooked cops? Did I choose for my public pretenders not to do their jobs? Did I choose for the murderers of 21 different people? Did I choose for those people to murder them? No, I spoke out. If something had been done when I spoke out, Tibor Hatay would still be alive. That woman who was killed at Clearview, whose name still hasn't been released, would still be alive. Elijah McClain would still be alive. But when it happened to me, it wasn't worth the attention, was it? After Natalie died, because people didn't want to listen to me, many, many more people were killed. And guess how many of them I killed? None. Not a single one. I'm not going to stop speaking out. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop fighting back. These are our rights. What happened to Sam is not right. What happened to Selena was not right. What happened to Natalie was not right. But the thing is, to those of you that this is just entertainment and a story, you're fascinated by it and to live through it and continue to live through it. You have to be in contact with these predators because the police wouldn't have to do their jobs. Sorry, I start getting pissed off. My jaw starts clenching and it's difficult for me to speak. Obviously, I'm not happy. There's a lot cleaner places on YouTube where you can hear Sam's story. Obviously, I didn't get on here for Sam's story. I got in here for her mother's story. Because her hell is nowhere near finished. She has to worry about the police. She has to worry about the DA. She has to worry about John B. Starkis. Man's willing to kill his own daughter. Well, she said that she got pregnant with the girls during that 18 months. I don't know if they're twins or if they're just real close together. But I do know that if people aren't aware of these things, they're not going to do anything about it. People watch my channel mostly because I'm an asshole. Yeah, it's me. People used to come see me because I was the funniest fucker they knew. Now, those of you who don't want to deal with the vulgarity of this channel, that's fine. Those of you who want to read Samantha's story and find out all of the details that led up to this situation, you can do that. Sam's mom has been posting this stuff up for a long time, just like I have with the situation with Natalie and the police there. So, although I'm making this video primarily for her mother, you notice that I mentioned some other victims of similar stuff. There's a reason for that. We got to work together. We really do. We can't be at each other's throats because we're frustrated. And we can't be holding people to expectations that we don't fulfill ourselves. Please help get justice for this lady. See, it's not just justice for Sam. It's justice for any of these people who have to be afraid of this man, John B. Sharkus. There's a big difference between accusing somebody of something all up in the back alleys and the back bricks, but refusing to take it to court. And a situation like this, where it does get fully to court, and both parties obviously were allowed to be present, I wasn't allowed present in my court dates. I was illegally prevented from going to my court dates because I was incarcerated. I was victimized in the jails by the guards primarily. Nobody should have to break the law to defend themselves or their loved ones. But if you leave me that as the only option, remember that you left me with that as the only option. Crystal Khan ends up killing Mr. Sharkus. Well, good riddance. However, she shouldn't have to be afraid of this man. She shouldn't have to be. If y'all know any big city reporters, I know a lot of these places won't touch my story, but maybe they'll do something about crystals. Please